Chapter Vedanta as a Factor in Civilization. Extract from an address delivered at Airlie Lodge, Ridgeway Gardens, England. People who are capable of seeing only the gross external aspect of things can perceive in an Indian nation only a conquered and suffering people, a race of dreamers and philosophers. They seem to be incapable of perceiving that in the spiritual realm India conquers the world. No doubt it is true that just as the too active Western mind would profit by an admixture of Eastern introspection and the meditative habit, so the Eastern would benefit by a somewhat greater activity and energy. Still, we must ask, what may be that force which causes this afflicted and suffering people, the Hindu and the Jewish too, the two races from which have originated all the great religions of the world, to survive when other nations perish? The cause can only be their spiritual force. The Hindus are still living, though silent. The Jews are more numerous today than when they lived in Palestine. The philosophy of India percolates throughout the world, the whole civilized world, modifying and permeating as it goes. So, also, in ancient times, her trade reached the shores of Africa before Europe was known and opened communication with the rest of the world, thus disproving the belief that Indians never went outside of their country. It is remarkable also that the possession of India by a foreign power has always been a turning point in the history of that power, bringing to it wealth, prosperity, dominion, and spiritual ideas. While the Western man tries to measure how much it is possible for him to possess and to enjoy, the Eastern seems to take the opposite course and to measure how little of material possessions he can do with. In the Vedas, we trace the endeavor of that ancient people to find God. In their search for Him, they came upon different strata. Beginning with ancestor worship, they passed on to a worship of Agni, the fire god, of Indra, the god of thunder, and of Varun, the god of gods. We find the growth of this idea of God from many gods to one God in all religions. Its real meaning is that He is the chief of the tribal gods who creates the world, rules it, and sees into every heart. The stages of growth lead up from a multiplicity of gods to monotheism. This anthropomorphic conception, however, did not satisfy the Hindus. It was too human for them who were seeking the divine. Therefore, they finally gave up searching for God in the outer world of sense and matter and turned their attention to the inner world. Is there an inner world? And what is it? It is Atma. It is the self. It is the only thing an individual can be sure of. If he knows himself, he can know the universe and not otherwise. The same question was asked in the beginning of time, even in the Rig Veda in another form. Who or what existed from the beginning? That question was gradually solved by the Vedanta philosophy. The Atma existed. That is to say, that we call the Absolute, the Universal Soul, the Self, is the force by which from the beginning all things have been and are and will be manifested. While the Vedanta philosophers solved this question, they at the same time discovered the basis of ethics. Though all religions have taught ethical precepts such as do not kill, do not injure, love your neighbor as yourself, etc., yet none of them has given the reason. Why should I not injure my neighbor? To this question, there was no satisfactory or conclusive answer forthcoming until it was evolved by the metaphysical speculations of the Hindus, who could not rest satisfied with mere dogmas. So the Hindus say that this Atma is absolute and all pervading, therefore infinite. There cannot be two infinites, for they would limit each other and would become finite. Also, each individual soul is a part and parcel of that universal soul which is infinite. Therefore, in injuring his neighbor, the individual actually injures himself. This is the basic metaphysical truth underlying all ethical codes. It is too often believed that a person in his progress towards perfection passes from error to truth, that when he passes on from one thought to another, he must necessarily reject the first. But no error can lead to truth. The soul passing through its different stages goes from truth to truth, and each stage is true. It goes from lower truth to higher truth. This point may be illustrated in the following way. A man is journeying towards the sun and takes a photograph at each step. How different would be the first photograph from the second, and still more from the third or the last when he reaches the real sun. But all these, though differing so widely from each other, are true, only they are made to appear different by changing conditions of time and space. It is the recognition of this truth which has enabled the Hindus to perceive the universal truth of all religions from the lowest to the highest. It has made of them the only people who never had religious persecutions. The shrine of a Mohammedan saint, which is at the present day neglected and forgotten by the Mohammedans, is worshipped by Hindus. Many instances may be quoted illustrating the same spirit of tolerance. The Eastern mind could not rest satisfied till it had found that goal, which is the end sought by all humanity, namely unity. The Western scientist seeks for unity in the atom or a molecule. When he finds it, there is nothing further for him to discover, and so when he finds that unity of soul or self, which is called Atma, we can go no further. It becomes clear that everything in the sense world is a manifestation of that one substance. Further, the scientist is brought to the necessity of recognizing metaphysics when he supposes that atoms having neither breadth nor length yet become, when combined, the cause of extension, length, and breadth. When one atom acts upon another, some medium is necessary. What is that medium? It will be a third atom. If so, then the question still remains unanswered. For how do these two act on the third? A manifest reductio ad absurdum. This contradiction in terms is also found in the hypotheses necessary to all physical science that a point is that which has neither parts nor magnitude, and a line has length without breadth. This cannot be either seen or conceived. Why? Because they do not come within the range of the senses. They are metaphysical conceptions. So we see it is finally the mind which gives the form of all perception. When I see a chair, it is not the real chair external to my eye which I perceive, but an external something plus the mental image formed. Thus, even the materialist is driven to metaphysics in the last extremity.